A Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Rock, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
We got a new world champion.
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? My mic is fixed and we can start the fucking show, but this is another episode of Knockouts and Three Counts. And if you read the title, you already know what's up. It's the return of the boss, Kenny Cross. How you doing, brother man?
I'm doing good. I feel good. Thanks for having me. It's been a minute, but every time that
It's
we
been
get
a
on,
minute. Hell yeah.
every time we get on, we get to discuss a fight. So
That's what I'm talking about. See, we just ran into each other. If you're following our social medias at KO3C Pod, you saw the fine picture that your lovely girlfriend took for us. We just saw each other when Mani beat that guy up at Soundboard.
yeah, I saw you over there. I had to go show some love, see what's up.
You already know what it is, dude. It was good times. Now it's time to see you step back into the cage now at XFC Young Guns 4. So first of all, before we get to the fight, obviously there's a lot to talk about in between that. Obviously you tore your Achilles tendon. So before we get to the fight itself, you go ahead and throw your social media out if you want to too. But tell me about the injury and tell me about your recovery, because you didn't go with surgery. You did it all through PT from what I understand. So tell me a little bit about that and what was the recovery process like with that?
So I snapped my Achilles running up a wall after a lot of training, a lot of good stuff going on, doing backflips, playing around. You know, I won that fight and I was right back in the gym. You guys understand I'm a consistent fighter. You know, I'm always fighting like 3-4 times a year. So just a bunch of adding, you know, pressure on pressure and jumping around. I'm explosive. So it was time for it to go and it snapped. I heard it and I didn't know if it was my knee. I didn't know what happened because I never hurt myself, but I was like, damn, this isn't good. The doctor, Mike El-Nourani, he rushed over to Michigan Top Team and I was on the mats. He came over there and we kind of, you know, played with my foot a little bit and I could move it a little bit. So we were hopeful, but a couple of weeks later, you know, we went over there and it was a full tear basically. And then it was crunch time. I was trying to get all my medicals together and get some surgery going on, but it was a bunch of hurdles. And I looked at my coach, Chris, and he said that we could just PT it. And, you know, there's other ways around. There's studies where getting surgery on your Achilles isn't as big of a deal as people think. So, you know, I went the path less taken and it took 10 weeks off. After that, I was right in the gym, grinding, banging on it, you know, believing in myself and my coach and what we were doing. You know, that was that. After it started, I started to feel it grab a hold of some other ligaments and muscles. I started to feel better and better about it. And we got right back to training. Murcielago, I've been throwing kicks. We've been out there, you know, training hard and, you know, the thing's holding up really well. So I feel like a brand new man. I feel like my leg's stronger than it ever been. And my, you know, my all around my whole body, my mindset, everything is next level now because of that injury. It kind of gave me an opportunity to take a step back and look at myself and decide whether I wanted to fully commit to this sport, dive all the way in, or if I was just going to half-ass it and be average. So I took the time and really matured as a fighter, as a human. Now, you know, now we're back suiting up, ready to fight.
So with you getting injured like that with an Achilles tendon, like you say, and you say what it's done for your mindset, does that change at all? Like any of your, you know, your thoughts going into a fight? Are you going to be a little more calculated with your shots, or do you still find yourself going for, you know, whatever strikes you at the mood? Did tearing your Achilles tendon kind of change your mindset on any of that kind of stuff?
I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be vicious. I'm going to put it on him. You know, my leg's good, but I think my conditioning and all around sitting back for a year, watching fighters and trying to study myself more and see how I can get myself to the 5th round without gassing out, because I put in the cardio. It's breath work, and it's being tense and being afraid, being in there and being like, oh, is he going to hit me? I don't know. But I'm strong and I'm elusive, and I've been in this sport now for 7-8 years. So like, why am I holding my breath? Let's get in there and let's finish these dudes. Like Coach Joaquin says, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. So I'm gonna target him. I'm gonna find him, and then this left hand is gonna come straight down the pipe. And it's gonna be lights out. Another dub to my resume. So yeah.
I know you talked about kind of weighing your options, I guess, on whether or not you were even going to end up returning or not. What other mental hurdles did you go through dealing with such an injury like that? I mean, that kind of time off can really, like you say, weigh real heavy on somebody's career, whether or not they even continue. I
started to enjoy not fighting. I started to enjoy the life of just like chilling and working on myself every day. But at the same time, it's like there's other ways to make money in this world. So, I got a beautiful girlfriend now. I'm not fighting for the exposure of like, I'm a badass.
You're not
like,
clout chasing.
I don't have anything to prove to myself and to everybody. Like I'm comfortable with my life and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying, I'm happy. But there comes a time where it's like, all right, Kenny, like you've done all this work, you're so far, and you can't forget about these God-given talents that you have. So, don't bitch out now. We still got, 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years to go and claim the throne. So I wasn't in a rush by any means. I sat back. I haven't lost in a few years. I'm number 1 in the state. No one passed me, even when I was sitting on the sidelines. Like, I got a lot to offer to this sport still. So I just, I took the bumps and I kept rolling with it, and we improved. And now I felt like it was the right time to get back into a fight. I felt like I'm really strong. I've done more conditioning than I've ever done my whole life. And it's time to put it on somebody.
Well, that's as good a thing as any to ask about the next thing I was going to ask about. And like you said, Jay, I'm with you. I've had Achilles tendon surgery, not because I tore mine, but they cut mine and lengthened mine my senior year of high school. And I walked around in a cast for 2 months or so. And then I put a hole in the bottom of that bitch because I walked on it so much. But when they took the cast off, man, I remember it was like the hardest thing to get used to walking again, because it was like my whole leg was like bubble gum. So I don't know if that was kind of like anything you went through. But with that being said, you've brought up a good point. And for anybody that's new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If you got any questions, let us know in the comments, and I will ask them, because we ain't scared around these parts. But with that being said, you mentioned, up in your training. I know you switched camps over to Murcielago MMA. Now that you've had a little bit of time over there with the likes of Chaos Williams, you got Mondo El Toro Gutierrez, who's going to be on with us probably after the fight. You've also got Joaquin Buckley, and, talking about Joaquin Murcielago and himself. Tell me about training over there, and what do you think the biggest changes you're seeing are heading into this fight?
There's nothing that my opponent can do to me that these guys aren't doing to me on a daily basis. The vibes in the gym, there's always a breakdown, and there's always someone, cheering you on and trying to get the best out of you every day. And I'm training with big boys. Don't forget about Devin Smith in there too. There's a bunch of guys.
That's guest of the show.
And I'm right in the mix with them now. So training with these killers leaves no doubt in my mind that when I step into that octagon or hexagon, circle, ring, whatever it is, like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do my best to leave no questions in the eyes of the fans or to anybody that I'm the best, and that I'm not gonna play around in these fights. I'm gonna take what's mine. I'm on a roll. I'm sitting right now 163 pounds. I'm ready for this weight cut. That was always a big thing in the past. I'm a problem.
I mean, that's the best way to put it of any, man. Especially, if anybody who caught your debut in XFC, there's nothing you can say in that first round fight other than, dude, you wrecked that dude, and we're on a roll in that tournament before you got hurt. So, who knows how that tournament thing would have shaken out. With that being said, we're starting to see more and more places open up and things like that. Now that you're stepping back into the XFC cage, I mean, what's obviously business first at hand is the fight you got here this week. But, you know, where's your mind at for what you want to do, you know, in 2022?
I just want to set the tone with this fight. My stock can only go up. You know, I gotta take this dude out and let the big guys in the bigger promotions look at, you know, what they missed out on and come chase me, because I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna take these fights. I'm gonna make sure that I'm not too eager to jump into a big long contract for money or whatever it's gonna be. But I think that just me being me, going out there, that the offers are going to come around the world. I just got to focus, you know, one fight at a time, focus on my weight cut, my conditioning, my attitude, and just being the best version of Kenny Cross that I can be, and, you know, let everybody jump on the Boss Express and get to the top.
I know you bring up the weight cut. You said that this one's super easy, but you also had referenced that it wasn't quite so easy in the past. What was some of the higher weights you came in on fight week? What are some of these cuts we're talking about, basically?
Yeah, so, you know, I get up to 190, and I got to fight at 55. Mm-hmm. For instance, my last fight heading out to Atlanta, when I got on the plane, I was 175 pounds, which I think I had 2-3 days when I got there, and I had ran like 10 miles of unnecessary running just to get my weight down before that fight, where I'm sitting 163 pounds today, not running shit. You know, my legs aren't going to be cooked. It makes me happy knowing that I'm real close to getting the hardest part of the fight game over with, which is weigh-ins for me. And then actually, you know, refueling properly and lasting in these fights, because not only have I realized that you don't have to throw your power hand with power every time, but, you know, my breath work and my diet, everything is coming together full circle, and I don't see anyone that's going to really cause a problem to my gas tank. I'm going to go out there and hit them with a lot of shots, you know, and be active. I'm going to be producing a lot of volume.
So that brings up a good question off of what you said. I thought about it as soon as you started talking. So with, you know, you taking this fight in XFC, obviously anybody that follows our show knows that you fought on the Contender Series and all that kind of stuff. Do you, since you've been gone because of your Achilles tendon and you had such a great start to your run here in XFC, do you find yourself in a spot where you feel like you still have something to prove, not only to yourself, but I mean, with the other promotions? Do you find yourself like having that extra chip, or is it like you say, where you just feel like your actions are going to do the talking for you?
I think that a lot of fighters, like, I think that they're really good, and I think the same, but I just think I'm better. So I have 3 losses. You know, if you look at someone from the outside perspective with 3 losses, you're like, oh, he's not that great, because you have Khabib that's 29-0 or whatever, you know. So I have to you're only as good as your last fight. I have to go out and starch another person in front of a crowd, my home crowd. You know, getting on this Grand Rapids card was, you know, a big push for me to jump in there. Not saying I rushed it, but I'm like, I'm not going to miss out on this. I think if I put this dude in the casket, there's no questions. Like, Kenny is ready for the next level. I've already beat a 10-0 dude. Now I've got to go beat a 12-5 dude. So I just want to keep knocking these dudes out and separate myself from the rest of the fighters. No offense to any fighter, but I think that I was blessed with more athleticism and understanding of movements and adapting to different styles of fighting and putting that in my own game. So I don't think people can really hold a candle to what I'm capable of doing. And we're really just getting started.
Well, as you go into this camp, man, you know, we already talked about the fact that you changed over to Murcielago. Is there a big difference in like the coaching style that you feel like has got you in such a good mental place for this fight? Like, what's the biggest difference you see in that sense? Or is there a big difference in the way, you know, you're getting coached over there versus where you were at?
I mean, you know, Michigan top team, you got Darren Cruikshank, Jason Fisher, Ariel. You got so many good coaches that, like, right. You know, I love those guys till I die, but the bodies over at Mercy is what I need, and the stylistic matchups of bigger, stronger guys. I mean, I got Bobby Nash. Obviously, I miss him, and I love that guy as well. But I'm getting black eyes, and I'm getting beat up over there. Like, they don't take it easy. So I think just the aggression, and we spar 6-minute rounds over at Mercy, so that's badass. We do 10 6-minute rounds, and the last round is a fresh fighter every single minute. If I can make it through that, a 15-minute fight ain't shit.
That's Shark Tank to the extreme, man. Yeah. J-Bone, you've been quiet over there, bro. This is your first time over here with the boss, man. So go ahead, throw out some shit.
I'm still blown away that the dude bypassed surgery. Like, I don't know anybody that's ever had an injury like that and didn't have to do surgery, man. But from what I'm gathering from you, you seem mentally sharp. Like, you're ready to go, man, with no doubts on your mind. Would you say, like, with that injury, I know you obviously had a lot of downtime and kind of relaxing a little bit. That kind of sharpened you as a fighter, correct?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I just watch fights. I love watching fights. And even if I'm not fighting, like, I start sweating, watching these people and slipping with these punches, like a lot of fighters will do, just like a wrestling match. You're like, oh, you're like making all these moves with them. So I might have been on the couch for 10 weeks after, my last fight, but I was on the couch sweating. I couldn't use my left leg. And like you said, every time I took a shower, I was trying to see how much lower I could drop my foot to the porcelain tub that I was standing in. And I remember like looking at it like, man, this is fucking crazy. Like, I couldn't get my heel to the ground to save my life, and thinking to myself, if I put pressure on my foot right now and try to stand on it, like, that's going to snap and I'm going to fall and kill myself. And you know how many weeks of that I had to go through where it wasn't getting better. And maybe I'll have a good day, but I had a boot on, my whole, like, forever. And just, telling yourself like, man, like, this sucks. But the belief in the people that I had, mainly Chris Downs, my strength coach, he's a lot more than just a strength coach. And, he believed in me and I believed in me and believed in the fact that we can make it. I also, I've always been like kind of like an outlier of not following the rules. So when you tell me that I have to get surgery, it's like, why? Why do I have to? It's just it's a tendon, but the body's miraculous. Like, that thing can heal if you just give it some love, rub on that bad boy,
give it that TLC.
Yeah, and it's 2021, man. Who's to say you got to do the the traditional ways of healing? There's so many ways now. Everything works. So
I was trying to go get some stem cell, but
he's trying to go to Colombia. He's trying to come back. He's coming back diesel. He said, fuck it, I'm just going to go to Colombia and then I'm coming back to the cage, motherfuckers. But, speaking about coming back to the cage, man, do you have any thoughts on the matchup that you got for this fight? Do you have any, any thoughts on fighting a guy like Jose Martinez, or do you feel like this is just going to be another day in the office for you?
It's another day in the office. It's another body. It's another body. I like fighting shorter guys. I want to test my skills. It doesn't matter who it is that I'm fighting. I just have to be ready, and I have to believe in myself, and I have to be on top of my game. I'm at the highest level. I don't care if I'm not in the UFC right now. I'm fighting the highest levels with the most pressure, because one slip, you're going 3-4 fights backwards. One win, I'm in contention for $50,000 bonuses, like all my boys at Mercy. I'm trying to get paid. We're almost there. And like my coach Chris says something about the closer you get to your goal, the harder it gets, the more obstacles are going to be thrown at you. And that's what breaks most people. And that's why they don't see the light on the other side, because they're just like, man, I can't catch a break. But I used to think about, like, when I was an amateur, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, and I thought, like, man, I'm going to be the best in the world. But you're an amateur. You don't know shit. And now I'm 12-3, and I've beaten so many #1 guys from the States. And I'm telling myself, like, oh, I can't do it. No, that's the wrong mentality. Like, you gotta believe in yourself. You've got so far, but you have so much more to conquer.
So that brings up a good point. You mentioned something that we talk about on the fight a lot in mindset, and just how underrated that is when you talk about, the skills of a fighter. Because if you're not there mentally and you don't believe that you're the best, or you don't believe that you could win this fight, you've already lost before you ever got in there. So to hear that your mind is that sharp going into this fight is a great thing to hear. For everybody that's joining the stream, we appreciate you. Throw out the comments if you got anything you want to hear us talk about. Kathy, if you're in here, that's a question that we got on the way up here. Do you know what everything's going to be as far as being able to watch the fight? Because we had a lot of people asking how they can see the fight. Do you know if it's going to be on XFC.com or is it going to be on Fox Sports again?
Fox Sports 2.
That's what I thought, because it was Fox Sports 2 last time. So, Kathy, if you're listening, Fox Sports 2, I know it usually is showing on the XFC website as well. So there's plenty to talk about. Well, you mentioned how even in your absence from the cage, how you are a big fan of watching all these fights. Well, we've got a lot of fucking fights that are about to go down this weekend. So I figured who better to ask than the boss on, how do you see some of this stuff playing out this weekend, bro? Do you think Dustin Poirier is going to get the dub, or how do you see this fight with him and Oliveira going?
I'm just excited to watch it. I'm excited to get this dub and then watch the fights afterwards, because there's no better feeling than going out there and succeeding at something that you've been putting your whole life work towards, and then watching people at the highest level fighting for the belt that you want. And that's in my weight class. Charles Oliveira is a vet. He's been through the sport forever and finally won his belt. He's a humble guy.
We appreciate you, John. Good shit,
Johnny. So same with Poirier. He's a vet, experienced fighter. They're gonna go to war. I think Dustin might be a little stronger, but then again, Charles Oliveira is long, and if you're long, you're strong as well. Those punches, you can throw those straight punches, and you're closer with that short side. You get in there and take people out. I think Charles Oliveira is gonna win just because Poirier just is. When he works out, he's just like a robot. He's kind of athletic or like unathletic, and I don't really care for it. But at the same time, they're so good. It's needles, it's so close. Like, who's gonna win? I don't know. I'd go with Charles.
See, I'm going the same way, and I'll tell you why. I'm a huge Poirier fan. I've always been a fan of Poirier before he ever got in the UFC, when he was on that Fightland show and shit on Showtime. Like, I've been watching dude for a while, and I think he totally deserves to be in there. But the thing that I feel like is going to be different, which for any of you guys who are MMA fans, which you probably obviously are if you're watching this, we talked about this with Jimmy Smith, former announcer for Bellator, UFC, and now the front man behind Monday Night Raw. And we were talking about these fights. So for me, I was against Charles Oliveira because I remember when he fought our buddy Miles Jury, which you can see those episodes in the past episodes. And I kind of wasn't the biggest fan of his because he missed weight when he fought Miles. And he had missed weight a bunch when he was at 145. But the thing that I feel like is going to be the difference in this fight is I feel like since he's gone back up to 155, every fight we've seen drastic improvement from Charles Oliveira, whether it be the fact that he's piecing dudes up on the feet when before he was a jiu-jitsu guy, basically, and that was it, to the fact that he's gotten so much better at mixing his stuff together. For me, I think that it's going to be the constant growth that Oliveira has had from fight to fight that's going to be the difference, because the other thing you got to take into effect is not that DuBronx hasn't, been in wars himself, but if you look at Dustin's last how many fights minus the one with Conor, which obviously ended a little quicker, he's been in a lot of fucking wars. And I feel like the combination of the damage he's taken, and I feel like if Charles is able to get it to the ground, I just don't think that Poirier can fuck with him on the ground. Any of you guys that are watching it, I want to know who the fuck you're picking for UFC. Maybe I got to see if my bets are wrong, but I'm going the same way with you, Kenny. I think it's got to be Oliveira in this one. J-Bone, Corey, what do you think?
I'm such a big fan of both of these guys. It's really hard for me to root one way or the other. I am slightly leaning towards Poirier just because of the fact I am a big fan. I love the way he carries himself in and out of the cage. That's a big thing for me, is the way athletes represent themselves both inside and out. And I feel like he does one of the best jobs in the sport with running his foundation, how he's always pushing his daughter to the forefront, his wife to the forefront. He's always doing everything you would want like a role model style fighter to do. And shout out Poirier for that. That being said, the matchup itself, though, old Charlie Olives, man, he presents a lot of potential to finish the fight from any position. And that's the one thing I always preach upon when I'm breaking down fights is the more potential in different positions that someone has to end the fight, the more likely they are to get the finish in their direction. And Poirier's been really good throughout the last, like you said, roughly 10 fights, we'll say, in his career. He's fought nothing but the top tier, where you can't quite say that about Charles Oliveira. His kind of reign up to the title was not as stacked as what Poirier's been fighting through for the last couple of years. That's kind of going to be my real test going into this fight. I'm leaning towards Dustin because he's dealt with a lot of the adversity of all these top tier fights and stuff, but that's why they fight, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard one to pick, man.
All right, J-Bone, what about you? Who the fuck you taking?
I think this fight, man, the longer this fight goes, I think it favors Poirier. Just like Corey said, this guy's been through so much. He's seen it all when it comes to these guys, whereas Oliveira he hasn't fought the top tier guys like Poirier has. So I feel like if he doesn't get him out of there in the first or second round, this goes in the third, fourth, fifth round, Poirier's got the advantage. And even more so on the feet, because as we've seen, Poirier's got some hands, dude, and he can finish it just like that.
But take into account, again, that kind of plays into what I was saying too. In the same way you say that in the hands department, if they go to the ground later in that fight, Oliveira will submit Poirier a whole lot easier than Poirier is going to submit him. Not that Dustin's a slouch, but in that same hand, that's what makes this fight so good to me. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword.
Like a balance. It's like a balance. Like, where's it going to be come third and fourth round?
I mean, there's a million different ways that this one can go. And like Corey was saying, the fact that Oliveira can win from so many different ways, that's what makes this one so interesting to me, especially when you've got a co-main event like the one that we've got in Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, which I'm going to just come out and say it. No disrespect to Juliana Pena, but I expect Amanda Nunes by fucking murder. That's what I think is going to happen. She's going to win by fucking murder. So, Kenny, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be a murder, or do you think that we might have a new champ?
Yeah, first degree murder, for sure.
I mean, you heard it here first. If something happens in the cage, don't blame knockouts and 3 counts.
In this one, I feel like
big and strong, long. She's seen it all. She's good on the ground. She's got a lot to fight for. She's beat, she knocked out Holly Holm with a kick, who knocked out Ronda with a kick. So, she's known for that. No one can touch it. I wouldn't fight Amanda Nunes, bro. I wouldn't fight her.
I mean, I don't blame you. What the fuck? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't blame you. I don't want no smoke with her either. So
I have this discussion with a couple of my friends. Do you guys think that she's going to lose in her career at all? Do you think that's going to happen at all?
Well,
I don't see anybody that's going to be able to do it.
I don't either. By the time she gets to the point where she's comfortable enough to retire, I still don't think there's going to be anybody even close to her level.
The only one close is Shevchenko, and she already beat her.
Yeah.
Triple C's got to go up and fight her. That's the only way.
Triple C, he's trying to become C5. He's going to take both belts.
Hey, dude.
In all seriousness, though, I feel, to bring up the point, is anybody going to beat her? I feel as though Shevchenko won the second fight. I really honestly do. I feel like if you go back and watch it, you very well could score it. I mean, there's argument for both, but if I was the judge on the night, that's who my scorecard was leaning towards for sure. So
Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes are like the queens of the UFC.
Yeah,
I'm trying to separate myself like them. Like they've separated themselves.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And that's kind of where I'm at with the matchup of the two. Is I hear so many fans and so many people talk about they need to do the trilogy of their fight. Let them be separate. Let them be queens of their own thing, man.
Pretty soon they're not going to have a choice. That fight's inevitable because if Amanda keeps clearing it out like she has and Valentina keeps doing like she has, because there hadn't been anybody that's gotten close to touching Valentina Shevchenko in a while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point, that's going to be the only fight that's left to make because they're going to have cleared out everybody. And that's, again, to go back to our episode with Jimmy Smith, which if you guys didn't check it out, I highly recommend it. Hearing what it was like to go from MMA commentary to stepping in on Monday Night Raw, there was a lot of good stuff there. But something that, Jimmy said that makes a lot of sense too, in that when you look at Amanda Nunes and you look at a Valentina Shevchenko, you look at 145 and you look at 135 in the women's division. You've got Nunes, and then it's almost like a ghost town.
Yeah.
They're not as stacked at those divisions. So pretty soon you're not going to really have much other option than for them two to fight because she's beat everybody. She's beat everybody. So is Valentina. So eventually I feel like a third fight with them it's inevitable. There's no way that can't happen. But you know, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And I got to ask you about this fight, since you're a flamboyant guy yourself. What are your thoughts with Sean O'Malley stepping back into the cage? And do you agree with all the sentiment we've heard from him about saying, I'll fight whoever you want, but I don't want to fight the higher guys till I get paid higher guy money?
I like that. Cody Stamann would have already beat Sean O'Malley if Sean wasn't as smart as he was and dodging these guys. I just saw his picture of him stepping off the jet with his jersey on. It says 15, unranked. Like, keep beating the unranked guys and keep getting them more followers, I guess. He's getting paid, but I think he's young in the sport and he keeps getting hurt. So he's got to build himself up slow and steady correctly. And, they kind of like threw him up there real fast. So you don't see a lot of fighters normally fighting the top guys as fast. And he fought old people. He's been beating up bums. So he looks real good. But at the same time, he hasn't fought the top competition. And I think if he wants to keep going that route, it's a new era of fighting where you can cherry pick. And Kevin Lee will tell you firsthand, cherry pick your ass off because he's out, because he didn't. Yeah. The fight I want to talk about is Jose Aldo versus TJ Dillashaw.
Yes, let's talk about it. Give me your thoughts on that. You first, man.
I don't fucking know. Oh.
All right.
That's two true legends of the game. One being from initially 45, one, of course, being from 35. And to see Jose Aldo have as much success as he has, being as late as he is in his career, moving down a weight class, looking a little thin on weigh-in days. Like we can all say, it's not looking like it's the easiest cut in the world for him. He's performing on fight night just fine, but if you look at the weigh-in videos and stuff, he does look like it's still a struggle to make this weight cut. And for him to perform the way he has and look so competitive, his only real loss, I mean, he had the loss to Marlon Moraes, but that one was up in the air, whoever you gave that one to.
Mm-hmm.
But his only real loss is Petr Yan, who's arguably the current champ anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's
that way class,
the success he did,
bro.
Fucking killers, dude.
Yeah,
fucking killers.
For TJ to be gone and be coming back into the division, man, it's a ideal matchup. You couldn't build a better matchup. You really couldn't.
So to kind of go off of what you said, the biggest thing that stuck out to me with that fight, right, is like you said, it does look like Aldo's had a much harder time making 135. But again, something else that Jimmy talked about before that fight, he thought that, that some of Aldo's explosiveness might not be there, because Aldo's always been known as more of a guy who he can knock people out, but he gets a lot of his knockouts through TKOs and things like that. The thing that stuck out to me in this fight is, if you watch, Aldo was cracking, dude. And I mean, for him to be that late in his career and to be trying a new weight class like he was fucking cracking, dude. Say what you want, but it was like every time Font would start to build any kind of momentum, there'd be that one shot that Aldo would hit him with that cracked him. And I mean, it's going to be interesting because, like you guys both noted on, I mean, 135 is one of the toughest weight classes in the UFC. And if you look at the other four that are above him, every one of those fucking fights is tough. But it also shows you the nuts that Jose Aldo's got on him, because he don't give a fuck. He said, TJ, come get you some. When TJ has been argued about as the next guy who's going to get the title shot. Now imagine if he goes in there and beats TJ Dillashaw. Now we're saying all this shit about him being old. He goes in there and beats TJ Dillashaw. Ain't a person alive saying shit about him being old or not deserving a title shot.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Jose will win, and I'm a huge TJ fan. But he just stands there and he's not afraid of anything, and then he explodes with power. Yeah. And you've seen TJ get clipped. You've seen him get knocked out. You've seen that chin. And if you're not afraid of getting hit, like Rob Font was blasting him too, and he was just taking it and coming back stronger. So I think if he can keep that kind of fight up, that he'll take TJ out. But I like TJ. The way he moves and everything's great. But when you kind of lack that power or you lack that chin, maybe you string everything together and you still don't come out with the outcome that you want. Jose is gonna stand in the pocket and he's gonna get what he wants.
And don't forget, he's coming off a knee surgery too. Like TJ is going to be coming off a knee surgery too. So we've still yet to see how he's going to recover from that in a fight scenario. Like, as well as anybody coming back from Achilles, it's one thing to be able to train in the gym, but I would imagine, dude, when you step back in there in the cage, I mean, until you really go full bore and are trying to knock somebody the fuck out, man, I got to imagine it's got to be a little bit of a, let's see how this knee's going to hold up. Or in your case, let's see how this Achilles tendon's going to hold up, man. So, like, that's something else that's got to be taken into effect when you talk about that. Because not only did TJ come back and look great, but he also tore his MCL and had to go get surgery right after that. So, I mean, that I feel like is going to be as big a question as any with that fight when it comes back around, dude. But, I mean, at the very least, whenever it happens, wherever it happens, I, for one, am down to see it. But there's a fight that I want to ask you about. Do you want to see it or not? Now we've heard in the last couple days, Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul 2 is going down. First of all, what are your thoughts on this fight, number one? And number two, if Tyron Woodley doesn't beat him this time, where do you think that leaves his legacy in this? Because if he loses to him twice after getting that tattoo and all that, holy shit, is it a bad look?
Tyron just doesn't have that killer instinct to go out there and find the chin. I feel like he's holding back a lot. And you've seen this throughout his career with, the most boring fights he had with Wonder Boy. Where they just kind of like stagnant, just stay there. I think Jake is going to be getting incredibly better, because he's so new to the sport and wants to be the best. So I think that he's going to be getting better and better. I don't really want to see the fight. I'll probably catch the highlights. I wanted to see him versus Fury. Like, that would have been sweet because Fury had a lot to lose. I like to see people that have a lot to lose, and Tyron doesn't have a lot to lose. He already lost. He's already lost 4 before that.
And he got paid for losing and knows he's going to get paid again this time.
Big time paid. Yeah.
Watch I just get hella money, just to fight a YouTuber who's starting to get good. So, I mean, I like to see Jake Paul do well just because how he is, like I like to be that outlier. He's an outlier for sure. And he's rich, but you don't know about how his dad's always treated him. You don't know about their family. You don't know about, Jake Paul is one of the first people you'll see in a lot of things to be like, don't look down on people. Yeah, he talks shit and he's stupid. He does a lot of childish stuff. But he's probably a good boy. He's probably a good guy as well. So, I like to see him, and he's, yelling at Dana White to pay us more. So that's cool as well.
I mean, and that's the thing. He's at least backed up what he said, as opposed to a lot of people who have tried to throw that card when it comes to like MMA pay. Because Corey, what's the girl's name that he paid for fucking camp?
Yeah.
I can't think of it, but she came out and said that she didn't even make enough money that she could cover her own camp. And Jake Paul threw, I forgot how much money it was. He threw it and basically paid for this girl's camp.
Sarah Alpar.
There you go. See, I knew you'd figure it out. That's why I'm saying, man, like the guy at least has backed up what he said, man. I mean, that's the thing. And talking about backing up what they said, do you think Fury was really hurt, or do you think it's pussitis like Jake Paul was saying?
I was thinking that at first, like, how could you back out of a big payday? No matter what, fighters are always hurt. Backing out of fighting Jake Paul when you're supposed to be so good and long, and your brother is the heavyweight world champ and this and that. You don't back out for anything. But I don't know. I don't like to take a whole lot of my energy and invest it into what could and what possibly. I don't give a shit. I just want to, when they get in there, I like to watch it. Besides that, I'm focused on myself and what could go wrong with me and what could go, because I know things could go so right for me. I like to spend a lot of energy on like, well, what if this happens and it doesn't go my way? Because then when something bad happens, I'm like ready because you've already
been in that mindset.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense, dude. I mean, like I said, from what I see, they say it was a broken rib and like a lung infection. So I mean,
on his chest and all that.
Yeah, dude, and they're saying he's getting air around his heart and all kinds of shit.
He said that he got sick and he couldn't breathe, and then sparring round or something, his immune system wasn't holding up.
So he was. What I read in the thing, basically it was saying that he was already having issues with breathing and he wasn't feeling too great and tried to train through it thinking he could train through it. But in the process, he had a broken rib. So the airflow was able to get through his rib and getting the places where it wasn't supposed to be, which was only making the pneumonia that he had worse. So if the broken rib and all that shit's true, it looks like it just exacerbated the whole pneumonia thing. So I'm not going to say shit about somebody's health, but it was kind of funny and not a big surprise to see Jake Paul do it. But I tell you, boy, if Tyron Woodley had everything on the line the first time, son of a bitch, if he loses again, hot damn. Damn. I don't think a lot of people wanted to see the second fight. If he loses a second one, I don't know if there's gonna be a third, dude. That's
if he wins, then there's gonna be a third.
Jake Paul's definitely gonna want to run that back unless he just knocks his ass out.
Yeah.
I hope he does. For his sake, I hope he does, but something tells me I don't know.
I don't think anybody would be satisfied if Tyron Woodley wins by decision. I think the only way we're satisfied is if he knocks that dude clean out the ring, dude. Yeah. There's no way.
Just make it unlimited rounds until somebody goes down.
Yeah, exactly.
Knockout rules only. You can only win by knocking the motherfucker out. That's the only way you're going to win this shit.
But to Kenny's point, that's exactly how I feel. Is Tyron in that first matchup at least had something to lose? He was in there trying to like represent a championship level MMA athlete. And in this one, it doesn't have that same appeal at all because of the fact he did lose the first matchup. He's shown to not be able to pull the trigger in just a boxing match alone. And then the fact we've already seen it, the fact that Fury did have some excitement to it because of the fact of the Fury name. He's fact
a real
that
boxer.
The family was talking about they were going to kick him out if he lost and shit like that. Like the dumb shit made it entertaining. So like
his dad was cracking me up at the press conference though, because at first I swear I looked at him and thought that was Tyson Fury. I swear to God, I saw the clip on Instagram and I'm like, damn, is Tyson getting that pissed? And I realized, shit, that's his dad. Like his dad sounds just like him, and he looks like he gives zero fucks, just like Tyson. So yeah, dude, it's gonna be interesting to see how that shit plays out. But Kenny, I know we've kept you. I can't wait to get down to XFC Young Guns. Before we get out of here, like I said, for anybody that's coming into the stream late, one more time before we get out of here, any last thoughts on the fight and how do you see this one playing out? And I can't wait to get down there and see you put another body in the bag.
Yeah, the fight's going to be exciting. You know, you guys are going to get your money's worth. That's a guarantee. I'm gonna go in there and feel around that cage. He's supposed to be trying to get in my face and smother me. So good luck, because that's my game. But at the same time, my big bro will tell you that I'm pretty good fighting backwards. I like to try to be a little different, a little more cerebral, try some new moves, and get my cage time as well. So I'm gonna touch him up and I'm gonna take him out. Round 2, round 3. Round 1, it doesn't matter. I have a lot of finishes, and I think that, Michael Gilmore, I trained with him, and he was just telling me, if you guys don't know him, he's in the UFC, he just was on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yes, sir.
And he goes, you're as strong as bigger guys, and Joaquin Buckley, he was like, me and him were training, we're about to spar, and someone tried to cut it. I think it was Hunter Champion, he's fighting on this card too. He tried to come in, and Buckley's like, no, you small, you like a 55er. And then I looked at Buckley, I'm like, I'm a 55er. He's like, yeah, but you big. So, I think I'm stronger than I've ever been, and I'm more conditioned than I've ever been. I'm gonna flow in that fight. I'm gonna try to stay relaxed. I've been working with some old school boxers and at Weavers and Munib and Coach Rico, and a lot of good things in my camp. And it's been a long time, so I got a lot to show and a lot to prove. And it's going to be exciting. People are going to get their money it's in Grand Rapids. So stand up, man. It's going to get loud.
Let's go Michigan, right? But you almost stole my last question right out of my mouth. But with the time in between fights, What should us as fans be on the lookout for as your most improved skill with the time off?
I'm trying to be precision, like precise as I can be. You know, I'm trying to bing, bing, boop. You know, I've really noticed that it doesn't take much with those. I started sparring with 4-ounce gloves. You know, we never really did that at my old gym. Sparring with these little gloves, just my jab. I touch you with my jab, and I start to see, like, people start to move backwards. So 70%, you know, on all these shots, and they're going to add up, and it's going to hurt, and people are going to fall.
I mean, that pretty much sums it up. He's coming to finish this shit. I can't wait till XFC Young Guns 4. We've also got, like I said, Mondo was supposed to be with us tonight. I just saw him down at the Henry Ford Wrestling Tournament that I was down there at on Sunday, which, if y'all motherfuckers are in the area, I'm going to be on the mic for the next one. So make sure you come out to that bitch or watch the stream, because you never know what's going to come out of my mouth on a live mic. But, yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to it. And we've got the young killer himself, Austin Bashy, is going to go in there. And I'm just saying, I pick Austin Bashy because homie that tried to talk all that shit last time, it didn't really work out too well for him. And I think we might just be seeing the same thing come XFC Young Guns 4. Well, Kenny, I appreciate the time as always, homie. We're definitely going to have to link up after the fight and all that good stuff. We've got a little bit left to go on tonight's show. Once Kenny gets out of here, we're going to talk about War Games and all the shit that went down with that this past Sunday. But like I said, War Games is going to commence December 10th for XFC Young Guns. Kenny the Boss Cross, we appreciate you, brother, man.
I know,
Guys.
I know you always got a list of sponsors. Throw them out there, Kenny.
Not today, man. Not today. I can barely think right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead. But
he said, "Fuck it, I didn't bring the list this time."
Okay, I will say Heidi and her husband. Love you guys. Thank you for all the help.
Hey, man. Boss Nation, stand up. Make sure you're there. XFC Young Guns 4. Like I said, Kenny, we appreciate the time, brother, man, and I will see you this weekend.
Much love, boys. Thank you.
No problem, brother. Later, brother, man.
Peace.
All right, that was Kenny the Boss Cross, man. Well, let's react a little bit about that. What do you guys think? How do you think this fight's going to end? XFC.
No surgery, man. Fuck. That dude's got some fucking balls and some heart, dude. I'm telling you, that's crazy.
I watched one of his interviews with, if I'm not mistaken, past guest of the show. I watched too many damn interviews, but if I'm not mistaken, it was with past guest of the show, James Lynch. And they were actually discussing that same thing. And he was talking about, he looked up the different, like, timetables for healing and stuff like that, the success rate of surgery, whether or not second surgeries or third surgeries are even needed and stuff like that. And basically, through his scientific research, he determined that his best route was to just let it be in like an air boot and let it heal up naturally and do his thing.
Okay. We'll see.
I'm very excited to see how well it holds up. I mean, obviously, he's talking about putting it through the ringer and training and stuff, but like Kyle had noted, being in a fight's always a different thing. So I hope the best for him, because he's always been great to us as a show. But an injury like that, it's usually surgery for sure.
Yeah, dude, I think this is going to be a good show. J-Bone, this is going to be your first fight card with us, bro. How the fuck you feeling?
Oh, man. I'm ready to go, dude. Ready to see some action. Ready to see that dude put it on that guy, man. I'm excited about that.
That's what I'm talking about. And to everybody that's going to be at the Deltaplex, the hype is real, bitch. I'm just saying. So anybody that's coming up trying to bust my balls about not being in the gym, motherfucker, we ready. But, yeah. Like I said, it's going to be a good time come XFC Young Guns 4. But let's talk about what else was a good time. J-Bone, you brought it up when we were on the phone earlier, and you know what? Since I haven't had time to talk about it on the show since everything went down, NXT War Games was on Sunday, and I have to give credit where it's due. I haven't been the biggest fan of all the shit we've seen on NXT 2.0, but as far as match for match, the War Games matches I feel like delivered. So which one do you think we should talk about first?
Well, I mean, on the women's side, I think there was a little less just because of what was at stake between NXT 2.0 and the black and gold and all that. But the women put it down, man. Like top to bottom, especially the whole story with that Cora Jade girl with the arm thing and how they played it out through the whole match. Pretty cool. I like the way that went down. But the men's War Games match, if that wasn't Braun Breaker's coming out party, I don't know what the hell was, because that dude stole the show, dude. That was his coming out party, absolutely. And for the black and gold team, I don't know what's next. There's a lot of things coming up and a lot of rumors going around.
It sounds like Johnny Wrestling is departing from NXT, which I'm just going to say this right here and now, dude. Like, if Johnny Gargano is leaving NXT, I mean, son of a bitch, is he going to be a big pickup for whoever? You know, I mean, he's got to go to AEW, right?
Yeah, you would think. I mean, me and you were talking about that earlier. Like, we're always talking about how heavy AEW is on picking up, guys that are leaving WWE and NXT.
But
like,
Johnny Gargano's
how do you not pick up a guy like that?
I'm all for being more selective, but we're talking about somebody who's most synonymous with those takeover matches, dude. I feel like there's no way that Tony Khan doesn't try to throw some money at him.
It's bad business if you don't try, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, we were even to prove the level of talent, like we were at the GCW show here in Detroit, that last one. Remind me on the name of the guy that was just released that was there, Kyle?
Leon Ruff.
Yeah, he was there, and you could you could see it, right? Like the level of talent in just the fanfare that he is able to generate and stuff like that. I mean,
and Matt Cardona is the other one.
Yeah, there's a reason why a lot of these guys have made it up to, like, we'll quantify it in baseball terms, they've made it up to the big leagues. And so there's a reason why a lot of them are going to stay in the big leagues, whether they get traded teams or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to necessarily, even if they work their way back to Triple A's or something like that, they're not going to be. There's a reason why they've worked themselves up to that level, and that's because they've shown an ability to have success in the wrestling realm.
Absolutely.
I can agree with that completely. And in reference to what you said, I mean, I watched both matches, obviously. I think the men's match was good. But I think the women's match definitely took the night in a lot of ways, but I agree with you 100%. That match was Braun Breaker's coming out party, because not only did you have him get the pin, you had him hit like the old school Steiner. He pressed him over his fucking head, tossed him up, dropped him into a power slam, and did it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And they gave him a clean 1-2-3 pin over the NXT champion.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking. This is what, Dave and all those guys over on Busted Open, and you've heard me talk about it too. This is what I mean when I say that this new NXT that they're putting together is they're trying to separate the gap between NXT to the main roster, where they might have been real good in NXT. They're trying to tell you from jump, Braun Breaker is going to be a top guy here.
Yeah.
And I mean, for him to go out there and get a clean fuck him up pin over Tommaso Ciampa of all people, I think it's only a matter of time before we might see them try to strap the rocket completely to Braun Breaker.
Just to pose a quick question to you guys, right? Is the NXT thing, is it kind of like a college football coach that's just taking over a new program? Like, to use that analogy of, like, you might not like 2.0 right now, but that's because we don't have our guy in at quarterback. We don't have our running back. We're dealing with the old guy stuff. We're still working on recruiting our guys into the fold. Could it be something like that, or is it just like the direction that they're taking with the stories just kind of suck?
J-Bone, go ahead and take it first.
I mean, so from what I get out of it, and I know there's a lot of different opinions on it, man. So NXT was just, I think it was at one point it was the best wrestling on TV. Bar none. NXT had the best. The takeover shows were amazing. I was at War Games in Chicago 2 years ago. Amazing show, dude. And they were even bringing guys from Raw and SmackDown back to NXT because,
like Samoa Joe just did before he got hurt again.
Exactly. Kevin Owens was the surprise entrance in that War Game match that night, and it was huge. But it's just like, I think that third brand was so good and it was surpassing so high that they wanted to bring it back down to kind of like, hey, let's draw it back because this is what we want it to be. We want it to be that level.
They wanted to be their AAA.
They wanted to be their AAA. So they kind of had to draw it back a little bit because the hype was gaining. I mean, they were going head to head with AEW. You know what I mean? So it wasn't Raw. It wasn't
and you
SmackDown,
just hit the nail on the head. So here's why I don't think that it's just a new coach thing. And I think that over time we may be able to enjoy it a little bit better because I think it's definitely a new philosophy. But that right there, what he just brought up, I feel like is going to be the big difference. NXT had such a vibe to it that the quote unquote developmental brand was getting more talk than Raw, than SmackDown, which never was the plan. Vince never wanted them to be overdoing what he was doing, quote unquote, on Raw and SmackDown. And number two, the other thing that obviously and clearly is going to be a big difference and is going to change that whole dynamic that NXT had is that everything is being ran out of the Performance Center. They literally had war games inside the fucking Performance Center with what? Maybe 150 people?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was a great match. Great matches. The vibe was cool, and that crowd was loving what they saw, but 150 people versus when I went to NXT TakeOver and we just talked about Johnny Gargano and Ciampa. I saw one of the best fucking matches I've ever seen in my life in Chicago, and it was Gargano versus Ciampa. One of the best fucking matches I've ever seen.
Maybe one of the best rivalries.
And what made it almost better is the fact that you had 15,000 fucking people losing their mind.
Yeah.
So not having that vibe and having those fans that are so diehard and so like raring to go, ready to see that, I think is going to make for a big change. Now, I do think that the new direction of NXT is going to help eliminate some of that disconnect from NXT to Raw and SmackDown, but I don't think we're ever going to see NXT ever be up to the level it was as like a third brand ever again, because I don't think that Vince ever wanted it to be that way.
I don't think they want it there. And that's ultimately why, I mean, I feel like the black and gold, like as you just saw, it was almost like the passing of the torch. That puts guys like Ciampa, Gargano, Pete Dunne, he should have been gone a long time ago. That dude could have been on the main roster. But they wanted to keep those guys as the face of NXT because it was such a good brand. It was getting so much TV time. It was on USA. You know what I mean? They needed those guys there. Now, back in the Performance Center, they're trying to draw it back. They don't need those guys there anymore. So it gives those guys an opportunity maybe to go to the next level or, as we see, leave the company and find something else.
What kind of jealous-ass motherfucker do you got to be to, knowing how much he loves money, to say, nah, I'm okay with having a third brand that's doing so successful and is going to continue to build the name of WWE for the next 20 plus years if I allow it. No, I'm not going to do that because I'm not the one that's in control of the direction of the athletes and stuff. What kind of fucking
That's Vince, man. That's
what,
Vince.
Bro? I mean, how many people have you heard come on here at this point, or people that you've seen in an interview where they say, "Look, dude, at the end of the day, here's the thing: Vince McMahon, from everything I've ever gathered." Now, like I said, I've never met the man, so again, this is all hearsay, speculation, just off of everything I've heard. But, dude, I mean, it's a known fact and has been said for years that Vince McMahon is the end-all, beat-all when it comes to WWE. And he is consumed with everything that is WWE. He don't give a fuck about AEW. He don't give a fuck about New Japan. He don't give a fuck about Ring of Honor. He cares about WWE, and that's a whole. And since NXT was quote-unquote Triple H's baby, he didn't want Triple H's baby overtaking Raw or SmackDown. And here's the thing you got to take into effect. I think the reason why he turned on NXT is because Vince McMahon hates losing. And the thought that any AEW beat them in the head-to-head war, quote-unquote war, I think that's what it is. That was all Vince needed to say, well, your shit clearly wasn't working because you weren't outdrawing them when before, like you just said, Corey, you had something that was just at all cylinders. It was kicking ass. And then we hit the pandemic and then things changed. Yeah. Where before, when NXT is selling out 20,000 seats in the fucking Barclays and people are going and losing their fucking mind everywhere they do a takeover, it's kind of hard to stop something like that when every takeover, I would go as far to say that through the takeover era, and I know this is going to be a large stretch, but I would argue that from about 2015 on, there was never a bad takeover.
No, I would agree. Takeovers were huge. Takeovers almost capped off those Survivor Series weekends Royal Rumble weekend.
Let me tell you, I had more fun a lot of times at the NXT Takeover shows than the insert big show that I was there at.
Right. It was just a presence they had, man. This from the
We were genuinely excited to see the shit. You knew you were going to get good action. You knew the crowd was going to be fucking nuts. And that's one of the biggest things that you hear us talk about with AEW all the time. The crowd at an AEW show. When you're watching it from home and you can see a crowd is losing their fucking mind about what they're seeing in the ring, it makes you as a fan say, you know what? I want to see this shit.
Yeah.
Where when you watch Monday Night Raw and you're hearing people say that they're telling people to sit down and taking people's signs and they're only drawing 5,000 people for a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why
I'm reading that they're seating people on certain sides to stay off that hard cam. So it looks like the arena's full. Wrestlers are told to go to a certain side of the ring to do their poses, so it looks like they're facing a full crowd. Stuff like that. When you got to do stuff like that, man, something.
And I mean, to be fair, it's not like they haven't gone through shit like this before. They did it in 95 and then brought themselves back up. It's just the nature of how wrestling works. It's got its ebbs and flows. You can be hot for a while and then kind of go down for a while, because on the flip side of that, you know, something else that you wanted to talk about, J-Bone, which I will leave this part to you because I haven't gotten to see the full thing yet. It's funny. How many weeks did we come on here and talk shit about how horrible Raw was?
Yeah.
Well, I would argue in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I wouldn't say it's great. There's still things I would like to see change, but they've been entertaining, solid shows.
Yeah,
like I watched it without having to fuck, I don't care about this. Fuck, I don't care about that. They've brought the nose up. So that's kind of just, I feel like that's kind of just how wrestling works in a lot of ways. But the reason I bring that up is you wanted to talk about the women's championship match that we had last night on Raw, which shout out to Jimmy Smith. If you guys haven't done so, make sure you check that bitch out when you're done with this one. But, shout out to Jimmy Smith on a good call. But I mean, you were telling me about how much you enjoyed the match between Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch. So tell me about that. And what was it that you liked about that match? And do you think that Liv could sustain a run as a big baby face for them?
Dude, I like like we were saying, there hasn't been a lot of good matches like that entertain me on Raw lately. But like you said, they're picking the nose up a little bit, and they tried something last night. You know, they were tweeting all about it yesterday with, Lita and Trish about the main event of Raw being a women's championship match. First time in a long time. And Liv Morgan with Becky Lynch. I mean, we all know Becky Lynch is great. She's really good, no matter what she's doing. She's great in the ring. But for Liv Morgan to come in there, it was that like almost like Rocky type thing with Liv Morgan. Everybody wanted her to win. We didn't really think she was going to, but there's that smidgen of hope, like, oh my gosh, she pulls it off. And the crowd was there for that. Every time there was a close pinfall, they were with it, man. And it came down to a different type of finish, kind of a cheating finish, which was fine because now you're padding that.
And especially after the way they had that match with Charlotte Flair, and that was like her whole thing about how Charlotte Flair tried to do that, and then Becky, showed two can play at that game. So I agree with you. I like the way they finished that. Obviously, they're leaning towards Becky as a heel. Why, I don't know. But as far
Morgan though, putting her in that main event, I think we're kind of just tiptoeing her into the water before they push her into the ocean. You know what I mean?
And I'm not mad at that, and here's why, because that leads to my other point on that match. I'm not mad at them tiptoeing her in, and here's why, because in my opinion, there's still a lot of things that you see from Liv Morgan in a match where like she'll go for a spot and you can see she fucked it up.
Right.
Or like sometimes you'll see like where she'll go through and it seems like her wheels are still turning. Now, to be fair, go from wrestling here and there and being in different storylines, but never in a main event, to be you're in the main event for the championship against arguably the hottest female superstar since Ronda Rousey left. So there's a little bit of a buffer and a little bit of fairness to be had there. But that being said, I think with more time in it, if they give this a fair enough run, we can give Liv enough time to see how she does. But it's like they always say, man, it's sink or swim when it comes to wrestling, because if they put you in a world title picture like that, who knows if there's ever going to be another chance like that for Liv. I think the crowd is there for it and kind of want to see, where they end up. One other thing that I wanted to point out from Monday Night Raw that I thought was really well that needs to go noticed was I thought it was very smart on their end that they started off with a steel cage match.
Mm-hmm.
They start off with a steel cage match to start it, and it's Kevin Owens versus the WWE champ, which I'm glad that Big E got another win, because I've also said that I feel like as champion, I don't feel like they've given him as much of the championship treatment as should be to make, to build him up. But that was a good match too. And I mean, again, make sure you're following those social medias, because I mean, Jimmy Smith kind of gave us his pick for WWE Day 1. Which, hell, I mean, I'm thinking about throwing a party New Year's Day. I mean, maybe we'll have to get knockouts and 3 counts together. I'll pop on Day 1 on the fucking TV, and we'll make it happen. But like I said, it's at least interesting. At least I can say that. As we go into WWE Day 1, I'm generally interested to see what the hell is going to happen with this Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns thing, because that too, shout out to Brock Lesnar, because he proved to all those smart motherfuckers that think that he can't talk. Oh, he needs Paul Heyman, and the only reason he got over was because Paul Heyman got him over. Brock Lesnar showed that not only can he talk, he's also very fucking smart. Like, if you guys haven't caught on yet, there's a reason why he's got WWE by the nuts and making like millions just to step out of the house for WWE. So the way he played Sami Zayn like a fucking fiddle and got him to use his #1 contendership on Friday just for him to be out of Brock's way and make sure that it was Brock versus Roman at Day 1. I don't know, J-Bone, what do you think? Kind of cunning for the Beast Incarnate, huh?
Yeah, I like it, man. This goes back a few shows. We were talking about how this is going to play out later on and later on and later on. It's long-term storytelling. So there's so many factors in between, and I don't think Day 1's even going to be the end of this rivalry. There's going to be something more.
Either.
We got to get closer to WrestleMania. Royal Rumble's coming. I think we're doing a lot of things to start to plant those seeds for the Rumble and what may or may not happen with that. But for Sami Zayn, I mean, kudos to him.
Sami Zayn showed his fucking worth once again.
Dude, how cool is it that guy can sit there and look like a fool on TV, but to the wrestling fan, like, man, you're really good at looking like an ass, dude. Like, and you're doing your job right, man. You know what I mean? When you
Sami Zayn is so fucking underrated. He has been the whole time.
Hey, dude got played like a fool on live TV by Brock Lesnar, and here we are giving him praise because he did it so well.
Well, dude, I mean, Sami Zayn's just fucking entertaining, dude.
He is, man.
Like, let's just call it what it is, dude. You're either entertaining or you're not, and Sami Zayn can like make the dumbest shit entertaining. Yeah. Like when you're posting pictures of you on Instagram and Brock Lesnar's here with you, and you got your arm around, this could be us, but you playing. Like, come on, bro. Like, dude, the guy is just fucking entertaining.
There's a reason he's in the spot that
he's just entertaining. And if you watch his stuff in NXT, again, I'm going to go back to the old NXT. Like, dude, the guy is fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
The guy, or this guy, El Generico, who just might look like Sami Zayn, fucking killed it in Ring of Honor. Him and Kevin Steen, who also might look like Kevin Owens, beat the dog shit out of each other in Ring of Honor.
I have this. It's absolutely not Sami Zayn.
I mean, I don't know. And you're totally right. Doesn't look anything like him. But I heard that El Generico guy, I heard that he's pretty fucking good. Yeah. So, like I said, especially with his contract supposedly coming up too, Kevin Owens' contract is supposedly coming up. Like, again, it's very interesting to see how and where and what all this shit's going to play out with. And that's a perfect way to end this show, because if you guys are new here, make sure you motherfuckers turn in on Thursday, because Ring of Honor is going on hiatus. But if you listen to Boasted Open today, you heard our homie Shane T on there. So this Thursday, we're going to have the return of Shane T. And you want to talk about long-term storytelling, you want to talk about a real beef, Kenny King turning his back on Shane Taylor. There's no way Shane Taylor is not coming in there to lay Kenny King's ass out. But you already know that LFI is going to be in the building. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. You've also got fellow past guests of the show, SOS, teaming up with the other member of STP, Big Bad Kaiju, O'Shea Edwards, as they defend the ROH 6-man titles, which if you check out, I'm forgetting their name, but my brother, you were just commenting on us bringing on Shane. They just had Vita Von Star from Ring of Honor with Vinny and their group over there on their show. Like I said, I feel like Shane Taylor Promotions could definitely steal the show at Ring of Honor Final Battle. If this is Ring of Honor Swan Song, that's a hell of a way to go out. It's going to be a banger, so there's going to be a lot to talk about when it comes to Shane Taylor. What's next for STP? Where do we see them going? And hell, you talk about Monday Night Raw. There's a lot of people been talking about Keith Lee and Shane Taylor linking up again. They used to be called a team, the Pretty Boy Killers.
We need that.
I would not be mad at seeing a PBK reunion here, because I'm just going to put this out here. For any of you guys that don't know who Shane Taylor is, again, do me a favor, go check out those social medias at KO3C Pod, and you can see that. But the idea of Shane Taylor and Keith Lee being on a tag team again, you talk about athletic big men and guys that can just fuck you up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Pretty Boy Killers can do that. And if that could be a move for Shane Taylor Promotions down the line, boy, I would sure like to see it, even if it's only for a couple one-offs. And I mean, even on top of that, there's all this talk about GCW and the Collective and all the shows that are going down in Dallas. Well, I don't know. Maybe you might just see knockouts and 3 counts there. Maybe me and Megaran might be making a run down to Dallas. Devin lives in Dallas. So, GCW, if you hear this, shoot your boy a line. I want in, because Janai Kai, who Corey and I saw in Chicago at War Games, and you just saw her live on Friday on Rampage on TNT. Well, guess what? She's going to join us, and she's going to tell us what it was like to get in there and tangle it up with Jade Cargill, who I'm just saying she could totally be the next Storm in the next X-Men movie. But like I said, all the more reason, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, hit the motherfucking subscribe button, because if you don't, you're going to miss this shit. Make it quick, Corey. I'm fat and hungry. God damn it.
Well, we can't go without talking about Jamal Hill's knockout. We can't do that, right? Like,
shout out to Sweet Dreams. Now, it's been a while since we've gotten to have him on the show. Obviously, a lot of you guys that have been peeping in may not have liked some of the stuff that was said in that interview, but guess what? Fuck him. Fuck him. Because, we don't censor our guests out here. Definitely shout out to Sweet Dreams, because he was on with our other past guest, Jimmy Smith, today.
His performance was absolutely insane. I thought that was going to be a tough fought battle of 2 up-and-coming rising contenders, and that are both young in their career at 205, and that is not what we've seen. We've seen fucking Jamal Hill throw those hands. Like, he put him on him and put him out quick. And the last point before we do end the show, fucking Sergio Pettis, man. Shout out Sergio, able to maintain.
What a knockout.
Talk about saving your title. Talk about saving your title, because I'm just going to put this out here. I got a whole new respect for Kyoji Horiguchi. You've already heard American Top Team say that he's the best guy in the gym.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same gym that, I don't know, Dustin Poirier trained out of. Talking about same gym that's just got like a list full of killers and multiple world champions in there, and they're saying he's the best. And I mean, he was beating Sergio Pettis handily until he caught him. And like I said, all that matters is what happens at the end of the fight. Sergio Pettis coming up with a big knockout. We're going to have to see where he ends up next. I'm looking forward to that Bantamweight Grand Prix. There's a lot to talk about there, but there's a lot to talk about in knockouts and 3 counts. Like I said, Shane Taylor is looking to catch him a motherfucking body on Saturday. So Kenny King better be on his P's and Q's. And that's not all. Tara LaRosa said she's coming to pick up back pay, motherfuckers. Check out Submission Underground 29. There's a lot to talk about. We appreciate all of you guys for coming in. If you got anything to say or think I'm full of shit, throw it in the comments. And until next time, and in the in-between time, if you're there at XFC, I am more than happy to do a bicep measuring contest because my shit's screwed, damn it. Peace.